Do not underestimate the determination of a quiet man.
I resigned from the Conservative Party when Ian Duncan Smith, probably the most lamentable choice for political leader of any party in living memory, became leader.
I mean, what do you make of this claim? Seems incredible to me, from this new book, that the Chancellor regards you as thick.
In their job centre to sanction 3 people per week, so their benefits are then suspended. So if they don't turn up for a job interview or whatever, their benefits are suspended. And the mantra, he says, in his office is saving the public purse is the catchphrase here.
Well, I've never heard such claptrap in my life. No one's given edicts out to sanction 3 people. I mean...
The Department for Work and Pensions later admitted that such targets had been imposed and said these were removed immediately. But here's an example of a performance improvement plan issued to a staff member over a year later. It features a detailed calculation of what is now called a minimum expected level. Each full-time job centre advisor should refer 8.6 customers a month for sanctions.
In March I was earning £2,000 a month. I was made redundant. By October I had nothing left, so then it became £71 a week. OK, you can live off that. But when you get reduced from £71 a week to £0 a week, well, that's a whole different ballgame. Your every waking moment is worrying about where your next meal is going to come from.
Where's your next meal going to come from?
Benefit sanctions have been introduced to penalise people who are not doing enough to find work. But a report published in the last few moments says that some of those penalties have been hitting many of the wrong people.
A survey carried out by Manchester CAB of people across the country who'd been sanctioned revealed more than 70% cut down on food as a result, and around half cut down on heating. 2/3 of respondents were left with no income. Those with children left only with child benefits.
Any idea how many people have been sanctioned in the last year?
I've heard it's a few thousand.
You might be in for a shock. Record numbers of job seekers are having their benefits stopped in this way. Almost 700,000 sanctions were applied from January to October 2012.
We've seen a real change in the types of need lately. In the last few months we've seen a lot more people being sanctioned by the job centre. They don't seem like they should be on job seekers allowance anyway, a lot of them. Some of them have got obvious problems, mental health issues and things like that.
I got sanctioned, yeah, for at least 7 weeks, 8 weeks it was. The job centre expects us to live on sweet nothing because we've got no food, no electric. So what were we supposed to do?
Every time I get one of these letters that I'm doing something wrong, it's kind of getting me worried now. Because where's the next move? Because look, I'm coming down here. If it weren't for the food, I don't know what I'd be doing.
I've been sanctioned. I couldn't get no money from anywhere. I had to beg on the streets, and that's a 12-year serviceman.
We want to know why people are being sanctioned, because at the moment vulnerable people are getting caught in the crossfire.
The Guardian has spoken to several job centre staff who describe a culture of targets and pressure to sanction claimants.
It's all about stopping people's money. I've been put on a performance improvement plan because I don't sanction enough people. I got told, for example, I need to get X amount of sanctions by March, about 2 a week.
We're facing ever greater pressure to send them off for sanctions. We're seeing the most vulnerable people being sanctioned. People with language difficulties, people who can't read and write, people with learning difficulties.
We've been here before. 2 years ago, a job centre whistleblower revealed to The Guardian that pressure and individual targets were put on staff to sanction claimants.
It's just perverse. Suddenly, in your job, you're not looking to help somebody into sustainable employment, which is what you're employed to do. You're suddenly looking for ways to trick your customers into not looking for work.
But for our clients, being on benefits is not a lifestyle choice. They want to work. And what we're finding from our survey is that the impacts of sanctions, it actually stops them getting into work because they're having to spend so much time surviving on a day-to-day basis that they can't meet the requirements of getting into work anyway.
Pretty up against it and pretty desperate to get to be working again. When I was made redundant, I thought, well, you know, my skills and experiences, 20 odd years in social work, it'd be easy to get a job. I was sending 25, 50 CVs out a week to people. On the 15th of November, I was there at 3 o'clock, and within 1 minute she decided I was going to be sanctioned. Allegedly, I was not looking for work in a diligent enough manner. The Friday of the week before, I'd had a 9-hour assessment interview, but she didn't want to listen to that. It's reduced me from poverty to penury. You stop looking for work, you've got to start thinking in survival terms. I have at times gone to the back of supermarkets and looked for stuff in the bins. I'm not proud to say that, but I have. I've also begged a couple of times.
It is about helping people get into work for as little or as much as they can do or can't do. It is about the extra support there.
We need to make sure that what we're changing is the lives out there, not just the money. So things like housing benefit, etc., whatever we do to do with the money that people receive, it's very important that this changes lives. Every pound we spend, he agrees with me completely on this, is transformative, not just a cut.
The Trussell Trust is now opening 2 food banks across the country every week because of a record number of people going hungry. In Barrow, it's helped feed 268 adults and 75 children in the last 4 months alone. A single person is given 3 days' worth of food, which for many has to last a week.
We're going to be showing during the course of this week how we're going to do that. We're starting by showing how we would abolish the bedroom tax, by ending boardroom tax loopholes that this government is allowing. I think that's a fair choice. It's going to help disabled people and some of the people in the greatest hardship in our country.
But won't this give ammunition to your critics who say you are the party of welfare?
No, because this is about an unfair welfare change, which is hitting people hard, hitting the disabled, and it's not even going to work. It's unfair, and it's going to could cost the taxpayer money as well, because what we're seeing with the bedroom tax is people potentially being evicted from their homes, and it won't even save what the government said it was going to save. So I think it's the right decision. It's the right decision to make a fair tax change, to say we're going to get rid of the boardroom tax loopholes, and we're going to end the bedroom tax, which is hitting disabled people and some of those vulnerable people in our society. All part of Labour tackling the cost of living crisis in our country.
And when you talk about boardroom loopholes, what do you mean?
Well, for example, George Osborne cut taxes for hedge funds at the same time as introducing the bedroom tax. Now, I think most people will think, well, that isn't the right priority. Cutting taxes for hedge funds in the city at the same time as introducing a bedroom tax on ordinary families. So we're going to have different choices to tackle the cost of living crisis in our country.
What is the test, then?
So this is a test which is run by Atos on behalf of the Department for Work and Pensions.
What is Atos?
It's a private sector company.
Right.
They undertake tests with medical specialists, and people have to be medically trained. But what we hear still is that people are not necessarily sufficiently expert in the issues that somebody who is disabled might be coming along with.
The Prime Minister will know of the many injustices that have been meted out by Atos in the last few years. They were mentioned again on Monday at DWP Questions. The latest victim was a farmer and a butcher in Bolsover who went to Atos in December 2012 and was stripped of his benefit. For 11 months he waited for an appeal, and then his aggressive cancer took his sight, took his hearing, and then last Friday took his life. Isn't it time that we put an end to this system where people that are really suffering should not be allowed an appeal, having to live on £70 a week, him and his widow? 2 things the Prime Minister should do. 1, with immediate effect, make an ex gratia payment to his widow to cover the suffering, the pain and the loss of income. And secondly, abolish this cruel, heartless monster called Atos.
As the time's gone on, I'm feeling more and more depressed, and I'm feeling more and more that I am merely on the scrap heap of life.
Sophocles said one time, well, what joy is there in the day that follows day, some swift, some slow, with death the only goal. And really that's what many of our fellow citizens, whether they're in Appalachia or whether they're in Harlem, or whether they're the white children that live in some of these other areas where there's no future, or even our elderly people over the age of 65 who feel that there's not any future for them, that all they're going to do is die and get sick and have to take a pauper's oath. These, I think, are our responsibilities. These are your responsibilities, just as they are mine. Now, I hope that I win as the United States Senator, but even if I don't, I think that for all of us, that we have an obligation. We have a responsibility. If we don't do it, then nobody's going to do it.
I've got a message for the Tories today. They want to have a debate about leadership and character. Be my guest. And if you want to know the difference between me and David Cameron, here's an easy way to remember it. When it was Murdoch versus the McCanns, he took the side of Murdoch. When it was the tobacco lobby versus the cancer charities, he took the side of the tobacco lobby. When it was the millionaires who wanted a tax cut versus people paying the bedroom tax, he took the side of the millionaires. Come to think of it, here's an even easier way to remember it. David Cameron was the Prime Minister who introduced the bedroom tax. I'll be the Prime Minister who repeals the bedroom tax.
But there is a point as well that has to be made about the treatment of disabled people in this country. And there are two names I just want to give Ian, and if there's anything he remembers, it's this. Brian McArdle, 57 years old, paralysed down one side, blind in one eye, he couldn't speak. He died one day after being found fit for work by ATOS. Another example, Karen Sherlock.
Hang on a second.